Years ago, I made a video titled Why I Always Tune a Half Step Down. It was me, sat out on a beautiful field that I would have loved to go sit on again, but it's very windy today, yapping about E-flat standard tuning and why I think it's superior to the regular E standard. And by my standards, at that point, that video got an insane amount of views. I had like 15,000 subscribers, it got over 120,000 views, and what I said in the video holds true to this day. Whenever you see me cover a song that would traditionally be an E standard or drop D, I'm always a half step below that. Many people agreed with what I said in that video, and I think transposing stuff down a half step for no particular reason is just not something that you would think to do unless somebody tells you to. It's fun. Of course, that video makes me cringe now because it's like 4 years old and from before I was able to grow facial hair, but I've recently made a similar discovery for myself that I thought would be fun to share. If you like to tune stupid low, then odds are you have a few 7, 8 string guitars, maybe 9 strings if you're actually deranged. But what many people hadn't even considered until it became a trend quite recently is the baritone 6 string. Of course, they've been around virtually forever, but rarely will you go to a concert and see somebody playing a baritone 6 instead of a 7 or an 8 string. The few exceptions that I can think of off the top of my head are like Cannibal Corpse, Villanova, and anything Buster Oderholm does. So today, I'm here to sell you on the concept of a baritone 6 string. My example guitar for this video is going to be the Kiesel Antares in 26.5" scale, and before anybody says that I'm only making this video to shill for Kiesel, they've also sent me a 7 and an 8 string, so if I wanted to glaze Kiesel, I wouldn't need this thing to do it. But I mean, she really is quite beautiful. So point 1. There's no learning curve for a baritone if you're coming from a regular 6 string. If you just finished playing an 8 string, and then you move on to a 6, that shit can feel like a ukulele in comparison. It screws with your muscle memory for at least a few minutes, and here's where a lot of us need to stop lying to ourselves. Like 80% of us who play 7 or 8 strings don't ever use the full range of the instrument, and a lot of us don't even play leads in the first place. Sure, a lot of us do, but even a band like Cannibal Corpse that tunes to G sharp on 6 strings has solos in every song and gets along just fine. They don't have the full range that they would if they tuned to G sharp on a 7 or an 8, but they don't need it. If you're like me and the only time you play lead guitar is to try and play a solo that you like, fail, and then cry yourself to sleep at night, try a baritone. Multiple people who are known for using 7 and 8 strings almost exclusively have told me that if baritone 6 strings had been as widely spread when they started playing as they are now, they probably never would have started playing 8 strings. Take somebody like Andrew Boehner, for example. When was the last time you heard Boehner play a guitar solo? And he has played shows with his band Carcosa using a baritone 6 strings for songs that were written on 8 because there's just no need for the full range there. It's also way easier to find good 6-string pickups for low tunings than it is to find 8-string pickups that are truly great. Obviously there are many great 8-string pickups, but if you buy anything affordable in the extended range realm, often you'll be disappointed by how the pickups sound. Here's an example. I love lace alumitone pickups. I have them in a bunch of my 6 strings, but every time that I use the 7 or 8 string pickups, they end up sounding really woofy in the low end, and I have to do way more post-EQ damage control than I do with a 6-string version. And especially with affordable brands, this gets so bad for no reason. I really like what Harley Benton have been doing with their 6 strings in recent years, but buy a Harley Benton 8-string and tell me those pickups don't sound like shit. Barely usable. But you can buy their 30-inch baritone for like $200, and it sounds good. It's kind of meh as far as guitars go all in all, but the pickups aren't where the issue is, and you can go lower with that thing at 30 inches than you can with most 8 strings. Which brings us to what scale length is best. I already told you my example in this video is my Kiesel Antares in 26.5 inches. Now that's only 1 inch longer than like a standard Stratocaster. What this does is it adds tension across the neck so that you can tune lower, but without using insanely thick strings. I keep the Kiesel in drop A tuning, which is what I write most of my slam songs in, that I publish under the name Fish Fear Me. 30-inch has also been increasingly popular lately, mainly through bands like Loathe or Villanova, or lately Periphery, and if you want to effortlessly tune down to an octave below drop D, then that's the one you want. There's also anything in between, as well as multiscale, which gives you more tension on the lower strings, while keeping the high ones nice and slinky for leads. But this next point, I feel like is the most important one. With extended range, you tend to write for the extra strings. This may sound stupid at first, but unless you're Brown from Monuments, or Darren Clegg, you'll often end up just kind of bouncing on the lowest strings and especially abusing open strings just because you can and it's easy. I did just name two major exceptions, but what makes them the exception is that they are incredible songwriters with a wealth of music theory knowledge. And if you've meticulously studied the fretboard, chord theory, and open tunings, sky is the limit. But how many of your friends who use 8 strings are geniuses? A baritone 6 string kind of coaxes you into writing like you would on a regular 6 string, just in a lower register, but there's not an extra string or two to bounce up and down on and pretend you're doing something. I'd be shocked if this was unrelatable to most of you, because this is what it sounds like most of the time I pick up an 8 string. Compared to what I come up with when I pick up a 6 string in a low tuning. Now you don't need baritone scale length for this. The first 6 string I ever used for tunings this low is this ultra cheapo Squire that I modded with a Fishman and a bunch of Harley Benton parts, and it's tuned to G. This thing has 25.5 inches like any Stratocaster, but the strings on here are insanely thick and still sloppy as hell. As with a lot of this stuff, there's no scientific reason why a baritone is better or why you should add one to your collection. But a lot of what music is vibes. Everything in music is based on vibes, because music is art, and when you make art, you tap into your feelings, whatever those may be, and you use them to come up with stuff. Certain guitars have mojo, and others don't. I have a guitar back there on my rack that I have twice. I love the first one, and I never touch the second one because one of them just has more mojo to me. I can't explain it because it's nothing tangible, but it's there. And the same goes for writing music with a baritone 6 string. You're immediately more inclined to use all of the strings rather than just chugging on the low strings, because the default for a guitar is 6 strings, so you're used to it. It's the same with cars. You can drive the same road twice and do it once in a Mitsubishi Mirage and once in a Bentley, and you're gonna drive differently. Both are just means to an end, but you don't treat them the same. So yes, the baritone I used in this video is the Kiesel Antares, and they sent it to me for free, and I highly recommend it because out of all 4 of my Kiesels so far, this is for sure the best. But you can use any baritone of any scale length that you want. Kiesel have simply helped reintroduce me to the baritone game, and I haven't had this much fun writing music in a while. So thank you to Kiesel for this thing, and for that matter, for every other guitar that they've sent me, by the way. I will put a link to the Antares in the description in the pinned comment if you want one for yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.